week's episode. Guys, what I planned for you is a little bit of soft reading through some whispers, and I hope you will join with me to relax a little bit and also get to learn some English literature. So, I hope everyone is really doing good and everything is going well, even amidst of the pandemic. If you think really positively, it's not a big deal for you to make a day awesome. So, I hope every one of you are staying awesome, and I want to know, are you going to join with me? Are you going to join with me to read a little bit? It's also raining outside. That makes it a perfect sort of ambient vibe for us to get to know each other through some literature. And also, guess what? Some face brushing. Some face brushing. Face brushing, face brushing, face brushing. Boop, 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 boop. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you want to see what kind of book I have today for you? For us to learn a little bit. Learn a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. Pew, pew, pew. Okay. So, today I've chosen. Guess what? We all know this. We all know this. Can you smell the book? I always love the, smell that comes from like new books and also old books. In our case today, guys, it's an old book. It has been with my possession for a long time. Yes, it is Author Conan Doyle's Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Well, I have not met one person who don't like Sherlock Holmes. Since my childhood, I love this guy. So, shall we get started? Shall we get started? Shall we get started? Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay then. Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Authur Conan Doyle. Chapter 1. A scandal in Bohemia. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I have seldom heard him mention her under any other name. In these eyes, she eclipses and predominates the whole of her sex. It was not that he felt any emotions akin to love for Irene Adler. All emotions, and that one particularly, were abhorrent to his cold, precise, but admirably balanced mind. He was, I take it, the most perfect reasoning and observing machine that the world has seen, but but as a lover, he would have placed himself in false position. He never spoke of the softer passions, save with the gibe and a snare. They were admirable things for the observer, excellent for the drawing the veil from men's motives and actions, but for the trained reasoner to admit such intrusions into his own delicate and finally adjusted temperament was to introduce a distracting factor which might throw a doubt upon all his mental results. Grit in a sensitive instrument or a crack in one of his own high-powered lenses would not be more disturbing than a strong emotion in a nature such as his. And yet there was but one woman to him, and that woman was the late Irene Adler, of dubious and questionable memory. I had seen a little of Holmes lately. My marriage. Do you want to share? Of course you don't have the book. I'm sorry I didn't share with you. Here, look. Let us read together. Together. Just like teeny tiny school days. My own complete happiness and the home-centered interest which rise up around the man who first finds himself master of his own establishment were sufficient to absorb all my attention, while Holmes, who loathed every form of society with his whole bohemian soul, remained in our lodgings in Baker Street, buried among his old books and alternating from week to week between cocaine and ambition, the drowsiness of the drug and the fierce energy of his own keen nature. He was still, as ever, deeply attracted by the study of crime and occupied his immense faculties and extraordinary powers of observation in following out those clues and clearing up those mysteries which had been abandoned as hopeless by the official police. From time to time I heard some vague account of his doings, of his summons to Odessa in the case of the Trepoff murder, of his clearing up of the singular tragedy of the Atkinson brothers at Trincomalee, and finally of the mission which he had accomplished so delicately and successfully for the reigning family of Holland. Beyond these signs of his activity, however, which I merely shared with all the readers of the daily press, I knew little of my former friend and companion. One night, it was on the 20th of March 1888, I was returning from the journey to a patient, for I had now returned to civil practice, when my way led me through Baker Street. As I passed the well-remembered door, which must always be associated in my mind with my wooing and with the dark incidents of study in the Scarlet, I was seized with a keen desire to see Holmes again, and to know how he was employing his extraordinary powers. His room were brilliantly lit, and even as I looked up I saw his tall spare figure pass twice in a dark silhouette against the blind. He was pacing the room swiftly, eagerly, with his head sunk upon the chest, mask behind him. To me, who knew his every mood and habit, his attitude and manner told me their own story. He was at work again. He had risen out of his drug-created dreams and was hot upon the scent of some new problem. I rang the bell and was shown up to the chamber, which had formerly been in part of my own. His manner was not official. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me, with hardly a word spoken. Do you want to smell this book? See, I'm gonna smell for myself, and next you're gonna try. Wow, it's amazing. You smell too. Yeah, yeah. Is it nice? Let's get to it with hardly a word spoken, but with the kindly eye he waved me to an armchair, threw across his case of cigars and indicated a spirit case and a gasoline in the corner. Then he stood before the fire and looked me over in his singular introspective fashion. "Wedlock suits you," he remarked. "I think, Watson, that you have put on 7.5 pounds since I saw you." "7," I answered. "Indeed, I should have thought a little more. Just a trifle more, I fancy, Watson." And in practice again, I observed. "You did not tell me that you intended to go into harness. Then how do you know?" "I see it. I deduce it." "How do I know that you have been getting yourself very wet lately, and that you have most clumsy and the careless servant girl?" "My dear Holmes," said I, "this is too much. You would certainly have been burned had you lived a few centuries ago. It is true that I had a country walk on Thursdays and came home in a dreadful mess, but as I have changed my clothes, I can't imagine how you would deduce it. As to Mary Jane, she is incorrigibly, and my wife has given her notice, but there again I fail to see how you work it out." He chuckled to himself and rubbed his long, nervous hands together. "It is simplicity itself," said he. "My eyes tell me that on the inside of your left shoe, just where the firelight strikes it, the leather is scored by 6 almost parallel cuts. Obviously, they have been caused by someone who has very carelessly scraped round the edges of the sole in order to remove crust mud from it. Hence you see my double deduction that you had been out in a wild weather, and that you had been particularly malignant boot-slitting spiceman of the London slavey. As to your practice, if a gentleman walks into my room smelling of eau de femme, with the black mark of nitrate of silver upon his right forefinger, and a bulge on the side of his top hat, to show where he has secreted his stethoscope, I must be dull indeed if I do not pronounce him to be an active member of the medical profession. I could not help laughing at the ease with which he had explained his process of deduction. "When I hear you give your reasons," I remarked, "the things always appears to me to be so ridiculous, simple that I could easily do it myself, though at each successive instance of your reasoning I am baffled until you explain your process. And yet I believe that my eyes are as good as yours." "Quite so," he answered, lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. "You see, but you do not observe. The distinction is clear. For example, you have frequently seen the steps which lead up from the hall to this room." "Frequently. How often?" "Well, some hundreds of times." "Then how many are there?" "How many? I don't know." Quite so, you have not observed, and yet you have seen. That is just my point. Now I know that there are 17 steps because I have both seen and observed. By the way, since you are interested in these little problems, and since you are good enough to chronicle one or two of my trifling experiences, you may be interested in this. He threw forward a sheet of thick pink tinted notepaper which had been lying open up on the table. It came by the last post, said he. Read it loud. The note was undated and without either signature or address. There will call upon you tonight. There will call upon you tonight at 7:45. There will call upon you tonight at 7:45. It's a gentleman who desires to consult you upon a matter of the very deepest moment. Your recent services to one of our royal houses of Europe has shown that you are one who may safely be trusted with the matters which you are an importance which can hardly be exaggerated. This account of you we have from all quarters received. Be in your chambers then at that hour, and do not take it amiss if your visitor wear a mask. This is indeed a mystery, I remarked. What do you imagine that it means? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories, instead of theories to suit facts. But the note itself, what do you deduce from it? I carefully examined the writing and the paper upon which it was written. The man who wrote it was presumably well-to-do, I remarked, endeavoring to imitate my companion's processes. Such paper could not be brought under a crown a packet. It is peculiarly strong and stiff. Peculiar, that is the very word, said Holmes. It is not an English paper at all. Hold it up to the light. I did so, and saw a large E with a small G, A and a capital P, and a large capital G with a simple T, woven into the texture of the paper. What do you make of that? Asked Holmes. The name of the maker, no doubt, of his monogram rather. Not at all. The capital G with the small simple T stands for Gesellschaft, which is the German for company. It is a customary contraction like RCO. Capital P, of course, stands for paper. Now, for the E.G., let us glance at our Continental Gazetteer. He took down a heavy brown volume of his shelves. Eklonitz, here we are, Egria. It is in German-speaking country in Bohemia, not far from Carlsbad, remarkable as being the scene of the death of the Wallenstein, and for its numerous glass factories and paper mills. Ha ha, my boy, what do you make of that? His eyes sparkled, and he sent up a great blue triumphant cloud from his cigarette. The paper was made of Bohemia, I said precisely, and the man who wrote the note is a German. Do you know the peculiar construction of the sentence? The account of you we have from all quarters. Here we go, it's starting to rain again. So, how are you enjoying your reading so far, my friend? Are you already asleep? Or are you bored? I'm actually not bored for the first time reading a book. I mean, I read not that much. The book is called Daughters of the Lake by Wendy Webb. Yes, it's quite okay. But I don't get a chance to read every day, so it's currently on hiatus. So, yeah. Do you want me to read some more? Oh, do you wanna do something else like face brushing? How about we brush the book? That's good. I think this is the book, as you can see. It's quite old. The papers are yellowish and brownish. Let's try to get those brownishness away. Let me put some dust on your face. Now you are dirty. Okay. Let me read to you whilst I brush this. So where did we stop? Precisely, and the man who wrote the note is a German. Do you note the peculiar construction of the sentence? This account of you we have from all quarters. Received a French man or Russian could not have written that. It is a German who is so uncourteous to his verbs. It only remains therefore to discover what is wanted by his German, who writes upon bohemian paper and prefers wearing a mask to showing his face. And here he comes, if I am not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. And as he spoke there was the sharp sound of horses' hoofs and grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled. A pair by the sound, said he, as he continued, glancing out of the window. A nice little program and a pair of beauties, 150 guineas apiece. There's money in the case, Watson. If there is nothing else, I think that I had better to go, Holmes. Not a bit, Doctor. Stay where you are. I am lost without my Boswell. And this promises to be interesting. It would be a pity to miss it. But your client, never mind him. I may want you to help, and so may he. Here he comes. Sit down in the armchair, Doctor, and give your best attention. A slow and a heavy step which had been heard upon the stairs and in the passage posed immediate outside the door. Then there was a loud, authoritative tap. "Come in," said Holmes. A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height, with the chest and limbs of Hercules. His dress was rich with richness, which would in England be looked upon as akin to bad taste. Heavy bands of astrakan were slashed across the sleeves and fronts of his double-breasted coat, while the deep blue cloak which was thrown over his shoulders was lined in flame-colored silk and secured at the neck with the brogue, which consisted of a single flaming barrel, boots which extended off in calves, and which were trimmed at the top with the rich brown fur, completed the impression. Completed the impression of a barbaric opulence which was suggested by his whole appearance. He carried a broad brimmed hat in his hand while he rode across the upper part of his face, extending down past the cheekbones, and a black wizard mask which he had apparently adjusted that very moment, for his hand was still raised to it as he entered. From the lower part of the face he appeared to be a man of strong character, with a thick, hanging lip and a long straight chin, suggestive of resolution pushed to the length of the obstinacy. Wow. Alright. So, my friend, how's the book so far? I think we are done for today. It's enough for today. It's time for us to go to bed. Both of us should go to bed now. Let's bend the paper like this. Okay. And we'll read the rest of it tomorrow. What do you say? Do you like it? Okay. Alright, so I will brush your face now. And will you promise me you would go to sleep? Perfect. Alright. Here we go. A scandal in Bohemia. 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 A scandal. A scandal. A scandal. A scandal. A scandal. A scandal in Bohemia. In Bohemia. A scandal in Bohemia. In scandal. 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 Boop. 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 Scandal. 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 Scandal in Bohemia. Scandal in Bohemia. Scandal in Bohemia. Scandal. 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 Sleep. 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 Sleep now. Sleep now. It's time for you to sleep. Sleep. Mm-hmm.